Welcome to ZOOMERTIMES TV. And here's your host, Anita Finley.
Good morning, everyone. This is Anita Finley, and I'm your host for the ZOOMERTIMES TV shows that we do. And today we have a special guest. It's an author. Love the authors. They work very hard to complete their books. This is A Gang Member's Tale by Peter Wolfinger, and this is the cover of his book. And we featured him. He was Book of the Month in our last issue, September, and it was on the cover. And we did a review inside. So Peter, A Gang Member's Tale. I said in my review, I have never been in with gangs and don't know much about them. But you certainly did spend a youth with I guess you said that you had to join or you wouldn't even be able to live around there, right?
Yeah, that's true. What happened back in the late 50s was groups of boys and girls used to hang together, and they would call themselves gangs, Like if you read in the book, Charlie told me to join a gang because every time I walked down the block, that little gang was beating the hell out of me, So that's how I got into the Quantrells, And that was a few exciting episodes, as you know, in my book.
Right. Were they as dangerous then as they are now, the gangs and what they carry? The same thing?
No. Back then it was mainly fists, car antennas, which we don't have no more. Baseball bats. Very rare would you get a knife. You might get a knife once in a while, but very rare. Mainly it was fists, bats, chains, and mostly car antennas.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't see in your book that you actually got, hospitalized at all. You probably got hurt, but not anything real serious.
Yeah, no, I was very fortunate because I was tall and lanky and I was quick. And even when I fell the other day, we're tripping over my dog's leash, I didn't break my nose. And my brother swears to God, you don't know how I didn't get my nose broken, but luck of the draw. No, I got welts from the antenna. When I joined the Saints and I fought Tony, I got a knife in the side or a screwdriver. So other than that.
Well, let me just say that tripping over your dog's leash, there have been a lot of things. I have a dog and I have a leash and I'm very careful. But my husband once fell over trying to put the leash on and he got on the ground, then couldn't get up. He didn't hurt himself, but it was very difficult. So dogs, can be problems. Did you have a dog when you were growing up?
Yes, we always had a dog, a mutt, from the pound or found on, according to my father, they're called American breeds because they're a little bit of everything.
Right.
And one incident, we had a dog and my brother loved that dog. And my father just got him and a guy offered him $25. So my father took the dog out of my brother's hand, gave it to the guy.
No.
And my brother started crying. He goes, Daddy, that's my dog. He goes, I'll go to the pound for $3 and get you another one. Don't worry about it.
Right. Oh, I know. It wasn't the same then, right? Yeah. I know we didn't treat our animals the same as we do today. They're like our family, like our children, right?
Oh, they are our children, really. When you think about it, you do anything you can for them, Right.
Now, one thing I wanted to tell everybody that Peter is one of the fortunate people. You live in the villages, right? In North Florida.
Correct. I live in the villages. Yes. We looked all over the state of Florida. We wanted to get out of the snow. And I worked for Con Ed, and there's a Con Ed club here. So we were able to, I have friends down here. So it seems to have everything you basically would like. If you're into sports, if you're into cars, you name it, they got it.
Right. Well, and then let's get into your book. So tell us what made you actually write the book. You know, it's not easy to write a book, and you really did. Your book was like a diary.
Well, what it was, first of all, if you look in the front of my book, you see I thank the Lord for watching over me, because even today I do stupid shit. Second is that I had a very adventurous grandfather, and we were fortunate enough to hear his stories. So I was saying to myself, you know, my life's been pretty exciting. I don't know how I even made it this far, but let me write it down for my grandchildren and children, you know, including my kids tell me, I thought you were an A1 student. I said I was. So that's how I started to write it. I went to college under the GI Bill, and I took up creative writing. I wrote some small short stories, and the professor thought they were good. And he said at one time, you know, maybe you should write a book, Pete, because it seems like the class only wants to listen to your stories. I said, yeah, but then, you know, life goes on. You got 3 kids, you got work, so I just put it aside. So once I retired, I have this library here, and I would wait for my bride to put her makeup on. I actually call it war paint, but while I was waiting for her, I said, you know, I should write a few stories that I remember about my life. And that's how I started the book. So
that's interesting. So your wife was the cause of your starting the book. That's a new one.
Well, you know, according to her, the older she gets, the longer it takes to put her war paint on. I call it war paint because if I step out of line, you would think she was going to scalp me, which she already did. So that's how I started. And little by little, before I knew it, I finished it. And I sent it to my son. I said, look, put this in somewhere safe so the children, my grandchildren know how it was growing up. So he goes, you know, Dad, this is too good. You should make it a book. I said, I don't know. You know, hemmed and hawed, and he goes, no, Dad, you really should. Besides lying to us all these years that you were A1 student, you should make it a book. I said, yeah, all right. So that's how I got the book. So I did it on his thing, you know.
Well, you have an interesting cover too. And, you know, and now after you were growing up, you went into the service, and you even have your dog tag on the cover of the
Yes.
book. So tell us what that was all like.
Well, the picture there, that's what I was originally going to start with the cover. That's me second to left with hair on my head. And that was a few of the guys I hung out with. And the dog tag, I figure I put that in because when I wrote the story, a lot of things happened to me in Vietnam, as to all my brothers and sisters. You know, it was not an easy war in a sense that you knew who the enemy was. You know, in that one incident, I talk about the tent where they came in and slit John's throat. They would do things to, I don't know if it's the proper word, torment you or play with your head, you know, but they would do that. Same thing when we came to Long Bin and we went through that grass. They used to have traps where you would fall in and it would be human waste on a point, and that would spear you and get infected. Well, that's what they wanted, because you would take another man out of the circle to bring him back. You know, they used to put acid in Pepsi Colas and put the caps back on. So you always used to have to turn it up.
Wow.
Now, in that respect, and you never knew who they all, you know, it's prejudice to say, but they all looked alike. They were all desperate. My one friend got blown up because a kid, for half a candy bar, the kid took the grenade and threw it out. You know, another time I was giving out gum and I ran out of gum, and the kid ran for my rifle because I wasn't on a boat then. We never carried weapons with explosives. He would have shot me, you know, but there was no sense of life there because life was so cheap, you know. It was just, and all my brothers and sisters, they carry these horrors home with them, and they're a little stronger than our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan in the sense that a lot of them deal with it on their own. Not that it's tough in Afghanistan too, because they went house to house. Now, I was on a gunboat, meaning anything in front of me or behind me, I just they would lay it to waste. Now, I never shot a bullet. I was a coxswain or a skipper of a boat. If the 50 calibers open up, I would swing the boat to the rear and tell the gunner, you know, go for it. You know, I was really surprised. It's funny how the Lord watches over you. I was an expert rifleman, and so was Dave. We both came down with pneumonia in basic. We would really be heading for sniper school or something like that. But because we got sick, which the Southern sergeant said it was due because the Northern boys can't get adapted to the weather. But I think it was because we did a 5-mile hike in the rain. But anyway, the Lord watched over us, and instead of going to that school, we went to boat school, you know. So everybody says, well, what'd you do about carrying explosives? What could you do? You know, that was my job. I carried explosives. Hey, if it hit, it hit. The only thing I knew is if it hit, it'd be over quickly, you know?
Right.
But
Well, let me just talk to everybody. This is called A Gang Member's Tale. This is Peter Wolfinger. And we published his book. We reviewed the book in our September issue. And Peter's telling us what the life was like after he was in the gang in New York, when he was a young person. Then he got into the service. And I guess my question to you really, Peter, is, so did you suffer the trauma after you got home, the way a lot of the military have done in the wars now as they come back?
I did. When I came home, I got married in the army, and when you were in the barracks or something, you felt safer because you were with brothers in arms, you know. When I got out and I came home, I said it in the chapter, I couldn't sleep in my bed. I would sleep in the corner of the bedroom so I could fall asleep watching the door.
Wow.
You know, because it was very quiet. And then I was explaining which Dave could not take crowds. He moved up to Massachusetts. Very, how could I say, not many people there. So we did get a dog, Drip Drop, after they slit John's throat, and she would bark at anything that would come into the tent. So he said, go get a dog.
Yeah.
So I went and I got Silver, and that kind of helped me, but I was very cold. I showed no emotions, so I went to Northport Hospital, psychiatrist at night, and he worked with us so we could get some feeling back, you know, because I was the guy in the family that if somebody died, I would just stay, watch the body, close it, throw it in the hole, stand there and watch. I had no feeling, you know, and he taught us to come back, you know, and be sleeping and stuff. it was, the first few years, as all my brothers and sisters, mainly brothers, you couldn't sneak up on anybody. I mean, I almost broke my brother's arm. He came up behind me. I wasn't expecting it,
Mhm.
And Judy was getting afraid of me at times, But she's a good woman, and she stayed with me. We worked it through, and, it's good.
Let me ask you, I know a man who was in Vietnam. He was a captain, and he told me when he got home, people didn't treat him very nicely because of Vietnam. Did that happen to you also?
Yes. I don't know if I put it in the book. Well, we landed in Washington, D.C., and the Army treated us good. They gave us our uniforms, steak. Man, I can still taste that steak. Milk, and so because I was in patrol boats, and I actually spent 11 months, 29 days, and we were too critical to be sent home after 10 months. So that was really tasting good. So we were going to the airport, and I think I put it in a book, and the hippies, they didn't tell us too much overseas about how the hippies were protesting and stuff. They kind of kept it out of our way. And I mean, we knew about them. While we were in the airport, the hippies were chanting baby killers, murderers. And we were going to go after them. And the sergeant said, you go after them and you're going to lose what you fought for. They have a right to call us that. So just leave them alone, go home. So we walking by, and one of the hippies spit on the sergeant.
Oh, boy.
That sergeant hit him so hard. You went over the seats, the seats were the waiting seats. And he was out cold, and the sergeant went over, and he wiped the spit off his uniform. And Dave said to him, "You told us not to hit him." He says, yeah, but he started it. That was it. And then we came home, and of course, it was hard getting jobs. A lot of guys would, if you look at the statistics, a lot of veterans are cops, firemen, sanitary, government jobs, utility jobs, because the other ones wouldn't take us.
Really?
A lot of our friends wouldn't even say, I have friends that wouldn't even say they were in, where were you for 2 years?
Really?
I worked for my family, I worked for my father, because the people that stayed home got all the jobs. If you weren't in a state or city or utility, the private sector, they got all the jobs. So, you had to be careful. You never speak about it. I don't know if you could see my wall, my metal saying, people come in, they ask me, wow, that's a lot of metal. Yeah, okay, let's go. You don't want to speak about it. Because people get offensive. They start right away. Well, you shouldn't have been there. Well, hey, man, I was drafted. That was a poor man's war. They came into neighborhoods and wiped out the whole neighborhood of guys.
Right.
Nobody had a choice. The choice was if you were in college, which we couldn't afford, you didn't go. If you were married, oh, man, I'm 18, I'm not getting married. Though after being married 53 years, the war does seem a little simpler. I'm only kidding. And then, if you ran away to Canada. So, I mean, that ain't much of a choice. So most of us stayed together, That's why when you walk.
But one thing, Peter, I wanted you to talk about, you did go into the Coast Guard after you. Why don't you talk about that?
Before we get to that, just one thing I'd like to say is when you see a guy that was in the military or a woman, right away they're your friend because you're brothers in arms. You all have something in common. Now, whoever's watching this who is not a veteran will know, or a veteran knows when he walks in, he's at home. The Coast Guard, I got in, I was struggling with trying to make money. Again, you start, like any job you get, you start at the bottom of the list. And my friend came to me and he says, let's join the Coast Guard. I said, the Coast Guard? What the hell is the Coast Guard? He goes, man, that's the guys that go out and save people. I said, yeah, well, does it pay? He goes, yeah, you get paid on the weekends. And the company will give you the difference in the pay because Con Ed was a reserve supporter. I said, all right, let's join the Coast Guard. So I joined the Coast Guard. And I was a coxswain in the Army, which means a skipper of a boat. So I was that in the Coast Guard. But the Coast Guard is different. In order to get your oars, you must, no matter what station you're in, you must learn the waters. So I went to Shinnecock. So you have to learn the waters before you're allowed to be a coxswain. So yeah, and then you go out on search and rescue.
You know, Peter, and we've run out of time. We have another interview to do with you next month, and we'll finish about that and talk about more things. But I just want everybody to know this is an exciting book, A Gang Member's Tale by Peter Wolfinger. Go to Amazon and you can buy it. He'll keep you on the edge of your seat. And for those military people, it would be really wonderful because it will, I'm sure, remind you of things that he did, that you did. And we have to take our hats off to you, Peter, and all your, as you say, brothers and sisters. It was quite a wonderful thing you did for your country. And we'll talk to you again another time. But thank you for sharing all this. I'm really very, very appreciative of you.
Well, thank you to have my interview with me.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you another time, Peter. Thank you again.
All right, I won't have my blue cast on then.
Okay, well, just feel better. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.